Captain Jake Morrison stared at the radar screen and felt his blood turn cold. The dots appeared first as tiny specks at the edge of the solar system, but they were growing larger by the minute. His hands moved quickly across the control panel. Of Sentinel-7, the massive space station that protected Earth from threats beyond the stars. "Computer, run a full scan on those objects," Jake said. His voice steady despite the fear growing in his chest. The computer's voice filled the control room. Scanning complete. 267 large vessels detected. Unknown design. Estimated length of largest vessel, 15 kilometers. Jake had been protecting Earth's orbit for 12 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The ships were huge, much bigger than anything humans had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey. "Send an emergency signal to Earth Command," Jake ordered his communications officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster. "Tell them we have unknown vessels approaching the solar system. Possible hostile intent." Amy's fingers flew over her keyboard. "Message sent, Captain. Earth Command is responding. They want to know more details." Jake looked at the screen again. The alien ships were still coming, and they were not slowing down. He had commanded this station through pirate attacks and asteroid threats, but this was different. This felt like the end of everything he knew. On Earth, President Carl Douglas was in the middle of a boring meeting about trade agreements when his assistant burst through the door. The young man looked pale and scared. "Sir, we have an emergency. Admiral Kate Sullivan needs to speak with you right away." Carl had been president for 6 years, and he had learned to read people's faces. This was not a small problem. "Put her through." Admiral Sullivan appeared on the wall screen, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp and focused. "Mr. President, we have a situation. A large alien fleet has entered our solar system. They are heading directly for Earth." Carl felt his stomach drop. "How large?" "Over 200 ships, sir. Our satellites show they are much more advanced than anything we have. Captain Morrison is tracking them from Sentinel-7. Before Carl could respond, every screen in the room flickered. A new image appeared. A creature that looked like a giant lizard wearing metal armor. Its eyes were yellow and cold, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. "People of Earth," the creature said, "I am High Commander Zethkar of the Kethfer Empire. You are living on our world. This planet belonged to our people long before your species learned to walk upright. We have returned to reclaim what is ours." Carl looked at Admiral Sullivan, who was watching the same broadcast. Her face was grim. The alien continued. "You have 72 hours to leave this world. Take your ships and go to your colonies among the stars. We do not wish to harm you, but we will not allow you to remain on our ancestral home. This is your only warning." The screen went dark. Carl sat in silence for a moment, then reached for his phone. "Get me the Colonial Council. Emergency session. Now." 3 hours later, Dr. Lisa Hampton was deep underground in the ruins beneath the Pacific Ocean. She had been studying these strange structures for 5 years, trying to understand who had built them and why. The stone walls were covered with symbols that hurt her eyes to look at, and the metal was unlike anything found on Earth. Her assistant, Dr. Ryan Mitchell, came running down the tunnel. "Lisa, you need to see the news. We have visitors." Lisa climbed out of the dig site and watched the alien broadcast on Ryan's tablet. As the creature spoke, she felt pieces of a puzzle falling into place in her mind. "Ryan, look at this," she sighed, pointing to the symbols on the wall. "These match the markings on that alien's armor. I think we've been digging up their old city." Ryan looked at the symbols, then back at the tablet. "You mean these aliens lived here before?" "Not just lived here. Look at the size of this place. This was a major settlement, maybe their capital city." Lisa's mind was racing. The metal we found, the strange energy readings, the way everything is built. It's all alien technology. Back in space, Captain Jake Morrison was watching the alien fleet spread out across the solar system. They were not just heading for Earth. They were surrounding it. His worst fears were coming true. "Captain," Lieutenant Foster called out, "we have Admiral Sullivan on the line." Jake pressed the communication button. "Admiral, what are our orders?" "Jake, I need you to hold your position. The President is calling up the entire colonial fleet. Every ship we have is coming home to defend Earth." Jake looked at his tactical display. The colonial fleet had 67 warships, but most of them were small patrol boats and cargo ships. The alien vessels were massive and clearly built for war. "Admiral, with respect, we are badly outnumbered. Their smallest ship is twice the size of our largest battleship." "I know, Jake, but we have something they don't expect. The USS Defiance is being fitted with a new weapon system. Engineer Ben Carter has been working on it for 2 years. It's our secret weapon." Jake had heard rumors about the Defiance and its experimental weapons, but he had never seen them in action. "What kind of weapon?" "Something that can tear holes in space itself. Ben calls them quantum torpedoes. If they work, we might have a chance." Across the solar system, the alien fleet continued its approach. High Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet that had once been his people's home. His yellow eyes were filled with memories of stories told by his ancestors. "Commander," his second-in-command said, "the humans are mobilizing their fleet. Our sensors show 67 ships moving to intercept us." Zethkar's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. 67 ships against our 300. These humans are either very brave or very stupid. Should we destroy them when they arrive? No, let them come. Let them see the power of the Kethver Empire. When they understand how hopeless their situation is, they will surrender without a fight. On Earth, President Carl Douglas stood in the war room, surrounded by maps and screens showing the approaching alien fleet. The Colonial Council had voted to evacuate, but Carl had refused to sign the order. "Sir," his military advisor said, "we need to start moving people to the transport ships. 12 billion people cannot be evacuated in 72 hours, but we can save some of them." Carl shook his head. "No, this is humanity's home. We were born here, and our ancestors are buried here. I will not abandon Earth without a fight." The advisor looked worried. "But sir, the odds don't matter," Carl said firmly. "Sometimes you have to stand up for what's right, even when you know you might lose. Send word to Admiral Sullivan. Tell her to prepare for battle." As the alien fleet drew closer to Earth, people around the world watched the skies and wondered if they would live to see another sunrise. The Kethver had returned to reclaim their ancient home, but they had no idea what they were about to face. Earth and humanity were about to show them that some things are worth fighting for, no matter how impossible the odds might seem. The space around Earth erupted in fire and light as the human fleet met the alien armada. Captain Jake Morrison watched from Sentinel-7 as Admiral Kate Sullivan's ships opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness, sending streams of burning energy toward the massive Kethver vessels. Jake held his breath, hoping to see alien ships explode. Instead, he watched in horror as the human weapons bounced off the enemy hulls like raindrops hitting a stone wall. The alien ships had shields that made them nearly impossible to hurt. "My God," Lieutenant Amy Foster whispered beside him. "Our weapons aren't even scratching them." The Kethver response was swift and terrible. Beams of green energy lanced out from their ships, cutting through human vessels like knives through paper. The HMS Liberty, a proud battleship that had served for 20 years, simply vanished in a ball of fire. Then the HMS Courage followed, and then the HMS Freedom. Admiral Sullivan's voice crackled over the radio. "All ships, spread out. Don't give them easy targets. Keep moving and keep firing. But it was no use. The alien weapons were too powerful, and their ships were too well protected. Jake watched ship after ship disappear from his radar screen. Good people he had served with for years were dying, and there was nothing he could do to help them. On the bridge of the USS Defiance, Engineer Ben Carter was working frantically at his control panel. Sweat poured down his face as he tried to bring the quantum torpedo system online. He had been working on this weapon for 2 years, but it had never been tested in real combat. Come on, Ben muttered to himself. The ship shook around him as HFY energy beams passed close by. Just a few more seconds. Captain Lisa Brooks stood behind him, watching the battle through the front window. Ben, we're running out of time. Half our fleet is already gone. I know. The quantum field is almost stable. Ben's fingers danced across the controls. Red lights turned to yellow, then finally to green. Got it. Quantum torpedoes are ready to fire. Captain Brooks grabbed the communication system. Admiral Sullivan. This is the Defiance. Our new weapon is online and ready. Sullivan's voice came back immediately. Lisa, whatever you're going to do it now. We can't take much more of this. The Defiance turned toward the largest HFY ship, a massive vessel that looked like a metal mountain floating in space. Captain Brooks aimed carefully and pressed the firing button. The quantum torpedo was unlike any weapon ever built by humans. Instead of exploding like a normal missile, it tore a hole in space itself. The fabric of reality rippled and twisted, creating a vortex that sucked everything nearby into nothingness. The HFY battleship simply vanished. One moment it was there, firing its terrible weapons, and the next moment there was only empty space. 2 more alien ships caught in the edge of the quantum field broke apart like toys. On his flagship, High Commander Zethkar stared at the spot where his battleship had been. His yellow eyes were wide with shock and confusion. What was that weapon? He hissed at his crew. How did the humans make our ship disappear? His second-in-command, Vashte, looked just as confused. Commander, our sensors detected a massive distortion in space-time. It appears the humans can manipulate quantum fields. Zethkar's claws scraped against his command chair. This was not supposed to happen. The humans were supposed to be weak and primitive. They were not supposed to have weapons that could challenge the mighty HFY Empire. Pull back, he ordered. Move the fleet to a safe distance. We need to study this new weapon before we continue the attack. The alien fleet began to retreat, giving the surviving human ships a chance to regroup. Admiral Sullivan counted her losses and felt sick. They had started with 67 ships and now had only 23 left. The quantum torpedo had saved them from complete destruction, but the cost had been terrible. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, chaos was spreading through every major city. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Brady stood in the middle of New York's main spaceport, trying to organize the evacuation of civilians. But the HFY had not waited for the space battle to end. Their ground forces were already landing. The first thing Sam noticed was the sound. The alien dropships made a screaming noise as they fell through the atmosphere like metal being torn apart. When they landed, they opened up to reveal creatures that looked like walking nightmares. The HFY ground troops were 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor that looked like black scales. They carried weapons that fired bolts of pure energy, and they moved with the speed and grace of hunting cats. Behind them came their war machines, massive metal beasts with legs like spiders and cannons mounted on their backs. All units, this is Brady, Sam spoke into his radio. The aliens are landing at Central Park. We need to stop them before they reach the civilian areas. His soldiers were brave, but they had never faced anything like this. Their bullets bounced off the alien armor, and their rocket launchers barely slowed down the war machines. Sam watched his men fall one by one, and he knew they were fighting a losing battle, But something strange began to happen. The HFY troops, so deadly when they first landed, started to slow down. Their movements became clumsy, and some of them began to stumble and fall. The war machines started making grinding noises, as if their parts were not working properly. "Colonel," Sergeant Pete Williams called out, "look at this alien weapon I picked up. It's not working anymore." Sam examined the weapon. It felt warm to the touch, and sparks were coming from inside it. "Their equipment is breaking down," he realized. Something about Earth is interfering with their technology. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Lisa Hampton was making the most important discovery of her life. She and Dr. Ryan Mitchell had been studying the alien ruins when the attack began, and now they were trapped underground. But being trapped had given them time to make connections that others had missed. "Ryan, look at this," Lisa said, pointing to a section of alien writing on the wall. "I've been translating these symbols, and they tell a story. The HFY didn't just live on Earth millions of years ago. They tried to change it." Ryan looked at the symbols, then at the strange metal devices scattered around the room. "What do you mean, change it?" "They tried to terraform Earth. Look at these diagrams. They were altering the magnetic field, changing the atmosphere, even trying to adjust the planet's rotation. They wanted to make Earth exactly like their home world." Lisa moved to another section of the wall, where the symbols looked more frantic and desperate. But something went wrong. The planet fought back. The magnetic field kept shifting, storms became more violent, and their technology started failing. "Just like what's happening to them now," Ryan said quietly. "Exactly. Earth's magnetic field has changed over millions of years. The planet we live on now is completely different from the one they left. Their technology was designed for the old Earth, not the new one." Above them, the battle continued. The HFY were learning to adapt to Earth's interference, but it was slowing them down. Their superior technology was not as superior as they had thought. Captain Jake Morrison received new orders from Admiral Sullivan. "Jake, we need you to take your station down to the planet's surface. We're going to use Sentinel-7 as a weapons platform for the ground battle." It was a desperate move. Space stations were not designed to enter atmosphere, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Jake looked at his crew and saw the determination in their eyes. "You heard the Admiral," he said. "Take us down. Let's show these aliens that Earth is not giving up without a fight." As Sentinel-7 began its dangerous descent toward Earth, High Commander Zethkar was facing problems of his own. His fleet was suffering from the same equipment failures that plagued his ground forces. Weapon systems were overloading, shields were flickering, and his communications were filled with static. "Commander," Vashti reported, "our ships are having difficulty maintaining orbit. The planet's magnetic field is interfering with our gravitational compensators." Zethkar slammed his fist against his command chair. This primitive world was supposed to be an easy conquest. Instead, it was turning into his worst nightmare. The humans were more resourceful than expected, and the planet itself seemed to be fighting against them. "Send word to all ships," he ordered. "We are going to activate the terraform device. If we cannot take this world as it is, we will change it back to what it was when our ancestors lived here." Vashti looked worried. "Commander, the terraform device has never been tested on a planet with existing life. The consequences could be unpredictable." "I don't care about consequences," Zethkar snarled. "I care about victory. Earth will be ours, even if we have to destroy everything on it to make it happen." The decision would prove to be the biggest mistake in HFY history, but Zethkar did not know that yet. He was about to learn that some planets choose their own inhabitants, and Earth had already made its choice. 2 months had passed since the first alien ships appeared in Earth's sky. The war had settled into a deadly pattern of attack and defense, but something strange was happening to the planet itself. Every day brought new earthquakes, violent storms, and changes that no one could explain. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the ruins of what used to be a coffee shop in downtown New York, his space station. Sentinel-7 had crashed 3 weeks ago during a battle with alien ground forces, but he and most of his crew had survived. Now they were fighting alongside Lieutenant Colonel Sam Brady's soldiers in the streets of the city. "Jake, look at this," Sam said, pointing to a captured alien weapon. The device was covered in a strange green substance that looked like rust. Every piece of their equipment does this after a few days on Earth. It's like the planet is making their technology sick. Jake picked up the weapon and felt how warm it was. Dr. Hampton was right. Earth really is fighting back against these invaders, but I don't think the aliens understand what's happening yet. High above them in orbit, the alien fleet was having serious problems. High Commander Zethkar stood on his bridge and watched as another of his ships fell toward the planet. The magnetic storms that had been growing stronger each day were now powerful enough to pull vessels out of orbit. "Commander," his officer Vashti reported, "we have lost 12 more ships today. The planet's magnetic field is creating whirlpools in space that our engines cannot fight against." Zethkar's yellow eyes burned with anger. "How many ships do we have left?" 143, sir. We started with 300. The numbers made Zethkar's stomach twist with fear. His mighty empire was being defeated not by human weapons, but by the planet itself. Every day brought new disasters. Ships fell from the sky, equipment stopped working, and his soldiers were getting sick from breathing Earth's air. Deep in the Pacific Ocean ruins, Dr. Lisa Hampton was making discoveries that would change everything. She had been trapped underground for weeks, but the alien technology around her was starting to work. The devices were responding to Earth's magnetic field and showing her images of the past. "Ryan, come look at this," she called to Dr. Ryan Mitchell. "The alien computer is showing me what happened millions of years ago." The holographic display showed Earth as it used to be, a world with different continents, different weather, and a completely different magnetic field. The HFY had built enormous cities and machines that reached into the sky. "They didn't just live here," Lisa said in amazement. "They were changing the entire planet. Look at these machines. They were trying to make Earth spin faster, change where the North Pole was located, even alter the way the seasons worked." Ryan watched the images with growing horror. But something went wrong. Yes, the planet started fighting back. Look at this section. Massive earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, storms that lasted for months. Earth was trying to return to its natural state, and the alien technology couldn't handle the changes. The hologram showed the final days of the HFY. Civilization on Earth. Their cities crumbled as the ground shook beneath them. Their flying machines fell from the sky as magnetic storms tore them apart. Finally, the survivors loaded onto ships and fled to the stars, leaving behind only ruins and broken dreams. "They're making the same mistake again," Lisa realized. "They're trying to terraform Earth back to what it was millions of years ago, but the planet won't let them." On the surface, the war was taking a terrible toll on both sides. Captain Jake Morrison led a raid on an alien base in Central Park, but what he found there made his blood run cold. The aliens had built a massive machine that reached deep into the ground. Energy flowed through cables that disappeared into the earth, and the air around the device shimmered with heat. "What is that thing?" asked Sergeant Pete Williams. Before Jake could answer, the machine activated. A pulse of energy shot down into the ground, and the entire city shook. Car alarms went off, windows shattered, and people screamed as buildings swayed back and forth. High Commander Zethkar watched from his ship as the terraform device began its work. "Finally," he said to Vashti, "now we will reset this world to its proper configuration. Earth will become the world our ancestors knew." But the machine was having effects that Zethkar had not expected. Instead of fixing the magnetic field problems, it was making them worse. The energy pulses were creating interference patterns that spread across the globe like ripples in a pond at a military base in Colorado. Engineer Ben Carter was working frantically on new quantum torpedoes when every computer in the building shut down at once. Emergency lights flickered on, casting strange shadows on the walls. "Sir," his assistant called out, "all our equipment just died. Everything electronic has stopped working." Ben looked at his instruments and felt a chill run down his spine. "It's not just our equipment. Every electronic device on Earth just failed. Something is interfering with electricity itself." President Carl Douglas stood in the emergency bunker beneath Washington, D.C., trying to understand reports from around the world. Communication systems were failing, power grids were shutting down, and even simple radios had gone silent. "Sir," his aide said, "we're getting reports from our observers. The alien terraform machine is sending energy pulses into the Earth's core. Each pulse is making the magnetic field stronger and more chaotic." Carl felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Can we stop it?" "Not from here, sir. Someone would have to get close to the machine and shut it down manually. But it's heavily defended, and with our communications down, coordinating an attack would be almost impossible." In the Pacific ruins, Dr. Lisa Hampton was watching the ancient alien computers show her what was happening to Earth in real time. The planet's magnetic field was changing rapidly, creating patterns that hurt to look at. But something else was happening too, something the computers called a cascade effect. "Ryan, the planet is fighting back again. But this time it's different. Earth isn't just trying to return to normal. It's trying to protect itself by creating a completely new magnetic field pattern." Ryan looked at the data flowing across the alien screens. "What does that mean for us?" "I don't know. But according to these readings, the changes are spreading. Beyond Earth, the magnetic disturbances are reaching the Moon, and they might affect Mars too. Above ground, the effects of the terraform machine were becoming visible to everyone. The aurora borealis, normally seen only near the North Pole, was now dancing across skies all over the world. The lights were beautiful but terrifying, painting the heavens in colors that had no names. Captain Jake Morrison gathered his surviving soldiers around him in the ruins of Times Square. "Listen up, everyone. I don't know what's happening to our world, but I know we can't give up. That alien machine is the key to everything. If we can destroy it, maybe we can stop whatever is happening to Earth." Sergeant Pete Williams pointed to the machine in Central Park, now glowing so brightly it could be seen from miles away. "How do we get past their defenses? They have those walking tanks guarding every approach." "We don't go around them," Jake said grimly. "We go through them." Engineer Carter is working on portable quantum charges. If we can get them close to that machine, we can blow it apart. But Jake didn't know that High Commander Zethkar was making the same plan. The alien commander had realized that his terraform device was causing more problems than it was solving. He too wanted to destroy it before it destroyed his fleet. "Vashtai," Zethkar ordered, "prepare a strike team. We are going to shut down the terraform device before it kills us all." "But Commander, the device is our only hope of making Earth habitable for our people." Zethkar looked at the chaos spreading across his fleet. Ships were falling from orbit every few minutes, and his soldiers on the ground were dying from equipment failures. "Our people will be dead if we don't stop this madness. Earth is rejecting us, just as it rejected our ancestors. Perhaps it is time to accept that some worlds cannot be conquered." As both human and alien forces prepared to attack the terraform machine, none of them knew that their actions would trigger events beyond anyone's imagination. The planet Earth was about to show them both that it had its own plans for the future, and those plans did not include massive alien cities or human space stations that ignored natural laws. The machine continued its work, sending pulse after pulse of energy into the planet's core. With each pulse, Earth's magnetic field grew stronger and more unstable. The cascade effect that Dr. Hampton had detected was spreading faster now, reaching out toward other worlds in the solar system. Something was coming. Something that would change both species forever and teach them that planets themselves might have voices that demanded to be heard. The terraform machine in Central Park grew brighter with each passing hour. Its energy pulses were now so powerful that they could be felt in underground bunkers miles away. The aurora lights that painted the sky had turned blood red, and the ground itself was beginning to crack and split. Captain Jake Morrison crouched behind the ruins of a statue, watching alien guards patrol around the massive device. His team of 12 soldiers carried the quantum charges that engineer Ben Carter had built, but getting close enough to plant them seemed impossible. "Captain," Sergeant Pete Williams whispered, "those alien walking tanks are sweeping the area every 30 seconds. We'll never get past them." Jake was about to respond when something unexpected happened. A group of HFY soldiers appeared from the other side of the park, moving toward the same machine. They were carrying weapons Jake had never seen before, devices that glowed with the same energy as the terraform machine itself. "Sir, are those aliens attacking their own equipment?" Pete asked in confusion. Before Jake could answer, the ground beneath them shook violently. Cracks appeared in the earth, and steam began rising from the holes. The terraform machine was digging deeper into the planet, and Earth was responding with increasing violence. High Commander Zethkar led his strike team through the chaos of the park. His yellow eyes were filled with desperation as he watched his remaining ships fall from orbit one by one. The magnetic storms had become so powerful that they were pulling spacecraft down like giant, invisible hands. "Commander," one of his soldiers said, "our equipment is failing. The energy charges may not work in this magnetic interference." Zethkar looked at the terraform machine that was supposed to save his people. Instead, it was destroying everything. "We have no choice. If we don't stop this device, we will all die on this cursed world." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Lisa Hampton watched the ancient alien computers display readings that made no sense. The energy from the terraform machine was not just changing Earth's magnetic field, it was creating something entirely new. "Ryan, look at this," she called to Dr. Ryan Mitchell. "The computer is showing me the cascade effect in real time. It's not just affecting Earth anymore. The magnetic disturbances have reached the moon and are spreading toward Mars." Ryan studied the holographic display with growing horror. "What happens if it reaches Mars?" "I don't know, but the computer is predicting something it calls a system-wide medic collapse. If that happens, every planet in our solar system could become uninhabitable." Lisa realized that both humans and aliens were making the same terrible mistake. They were both trying to control a planet that was much more powerful than either species understood. Back in Central Park, the two strike teams spotted each other across the glowing terraform machine. For a moment, humans and aliens stared at each other in surprise. They were enemies who had been killing each other for months, but now they were both trying to accomplish the same goal. Captain Jake Morrison made a decision that would change everything. He stood up slowly, keeping his weapon lowered, and walked toward the alien commander. Zethkar watched the human approach with confusion. His claws were ready to tear the small creature apart, but something in the human's movements made him pause. "You want to destroy the machine too," Jake said simply, pointing at the terraform device. Zethkar understood enough human language to know what the captain meant. He looked at his failing equipment, then at the chaos spreading across the sky. "Yes," he said in broken English. "Machine, bad, kill everything." The ground shook again, more violently this time. Both teams struggled to stay on their feet as cracks opened in the earth around them. The terraform machine was now glowing so brightly that it hurt to look at directly. "We work together," Jake said, gesturing to both groups. "Humans and HFY. Stop machine before it destroys everything." Zethkar's mind raced. Working with humans went against everything he had been taught. But watching his ships fall from the sky had taught him that some things were more important than old hatreds. Together, he agreed that the combined team moved toward the terraform machine. But they quickly discovered that the device's own energy field was protecting it. Every time someone tried to get close, waves of magnetic force pushed them back. The quantum charges won't work from this distance, Pete Williams reported. We need to get them right next to the machine. Zethkar examined his energy weapons and came to the same conclusion. Our weapons also need close contact. The solution came from an unexpected source. President Carl Douglas, who had been monitoring the situation from his bunker, made contact with the team using one of the few radio systems still working. Captain Morrison, this is President Douglas. Dr. Hampton has found something important in the alien ruins. She says the terraform machine has a weakness. Jake pressed his radio to his ear as static filled the air. What kind of weakness, sir? The machine is designed to work with Earth's old magnetic field from millions of years ago. But our planet's field has changed completely since then. If you can overload the machine with the wrong kind of magnetic energy, it should shut down. Engineer Ben Carter's voice crackled over the radio. Captain, I can modify the quantum charges to create the magnetic overload Dr. Hampton is talking about. But someone has to carry them into the machine's core. Everyone looked at the terraform device, now surrounded by arcs of deadly energy. Getting close enough to plant the charges would be suicide. I will do it, Zethkar said quietly. This machine was built by my people. It is my responsibility to destroy it. Jake shook his head. We'll do it together. Human and Kefver. If we're going to die, we die as allies, not enemies. The two commanders worked quickly to modify their weapons while the terraform machine continued its destructive work. Around the world, cities were going dark as power grids failed. Volcanoes that had been dormant for thousands of years were beginning to rumble with new life. Dr. Lisa Hampton watched from the underwater ruins as the cascade effect reached critical levels. Ryan, according to these readings, the magnetic collapse is about to become irreversible. They have maybe 10 minutes before the effect spreads to every planet in the solar system. The final assault on the terraform machine began with both species fighting side by side for the first time. Human soldiers and Kefver warriors charged through the energy fields, their modified weapons ready to plant the charges that would either save both worlds or destroy them all. Jake Morrison and Zethkar reached the machine's core together, their bodies burning from the magnetic radiation. With their last strength, they placed the quantum charges and alien energy weapons against the device's central processor. For Earth, Jake said. For peace, Zethkar replied. They activated the charges. Simultaneously, the explosion that followed was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Instead of destroying the machine with fire and metal, the quantum energy tore holes in space itself. The terraform device simply vanished, along with most of Central Park, but the machine's destruction came almost too late. The cascade effect had already spread beyond Earth, reaching Mars and starting to affect the asteroid belt. The magnetic storms continued to rage across the solar system, threatening to tear apart every world they touched. In the aftermath, something miraculous happened. Earth's magnetic field, freed from the terraform machine's interference, began to stabilize. But instead of returning to its previous pattern, the planet created something entirely new, a magnetic field that somehow protected both humans and the surviving Kefver from the worst effects of the cosmic storms. Dr. Hampton emerged from the ruins to find a world transformed. The aurora lights still danced in the sky, but they were beautiful now instead of terrifying. The magnetic storms had become gentle currents that seemed to welcome both species. High Commander Zethkar, badly injured but alive, met with President Douglas to negotiate a peace treaty. Both leaders had learned that Earth was not a prize to be won, but a partner to be respected. Your planet chose both our species, Zethkar said. looking at the new patterns in the sky. Perhaps it is time we learn to live together. The HFY settled on Mars, which had been changed by the cascade effect into a world that could support their biology. Humans remained on Earth, but now they built their cities and machines to work with the planet's natural systems instead of fighting against them. Captain Jake Morrison, promoted to admiral, oversaw the construction of new orbital platforms that moved with Earth's magnetic currents like ships sailing on an invisible ocean. The planet had taught both species that cooperation was stronger than conquest. In the end, the aliens had tried to reclaim Earth, and everything had indeed gone wrong with their plans for domination, but right for the future of both species. Earth had chosen its inhabitants, and its choice included everyone willing to listen to what the planet had to say.